The last thing my father said to me before I left home was, "That army paycheck won't even cover rent in a decent neighborhood. You'll come crawling back within a year." I was 22 years old, standing in the foyer of our family mansion in Connecticut, holding a duffel bag with everything I owned. And I didn't cry. I didn't beg. I didn't defend myself. I just walked out. My name is Commander Elizabeth Harper. I'm 34 years old, and this is the story of how I proved my father wrong in front of everyone who ever doubted me. I grew up in Greenwich, Connecticut. Old money, private schools, country clubs. My father, Richard Harper, built an empire in commercial real estate. Forbes listed him as one of the wealthiest men in the Northeast. Everything in our house was expensive. Everything had a price tag, including me. I had an older brother, Jonathan, golden child, went to Harvard, joined the family business, did everything right. And then there was me. I was good at school, but I wasn't interested in business. I liked physics, engineering, problem solving. My father tolerated it as long as I stayed on track for an Ivy League degree and a respectable career. But when I was 21, something changed. I attended a lecture at Yale given by a retired Air Force colonel. She talked about aerospace engineering, about leading teams in high-stakes environments, about serving something bigger than yourself. And for the first time in my life, I knew exactly what I wanted to do. I wanted to join the Air Force. I told my father over dinner 2 weeks later. The dining room was silent except for the clink of silverware on china. My mother was there, Jonathan, my father at the head of the table as always. I cleared my throat. I've decided not to go to law school. My father didn't look up from his plate. What are you doing instead? I'm joining the Air Force. Jonathan laughed, actually laughed, like I'd told a joke. My father set down his fork, looked at me for the first time all evening. You're joking. I'm not. I've already spoken with a recruiter. I'm enlisting after graduation. Enlisting? He said it like it was a disease. You're going to throw away a Yale degree to be a grunt in the military? I'm going to be an officer. I'm applying to officer training school. Elizabeth, his voice was cold, sharp. Do you have any idea how much money I've spent on your education, on your future? I didn't ask you to. You're going to waste it on a government paycheck that won't even cover rent in a decent neighborhood? My mother reached for my hand across the table. Sweetheart, maybe you should think about this. I have thought about it. This is what I want. My father stood up. Then you're on your own. What? If you walk away from this family's legacy to play soldier, you do it without my support, financial or otherwise. Jonathan smirked. Dad, come on, she'll change her mind when she realizes what she's giving up. My father looked at me. You have until graduation. Change your mind and we'll forget this conversation ever happened. But if you go through with this, you're not my daughter anymore. He walked out. My mother cried. Jonathan shook his head and went back to his meal. And I sat there, 21 years old, and realized my father had just disowned me for choosing a different path. I graduated 3 months later. My family didn't come to the ceremony. I moved into a tiny apartment with 2 roommates, started officer training school, and I never asked my father for another cent. Training was brutal, not just physically, but mentally. I was used to being the smartest person in the room, used to things coming easily. The military didn't care. I failed my first physical fitness test, got screamed at by my training instructor, cried in my bunk that night, but I didn't quit, and slowly I got better. The first year was the hardest. I missed birthdays, holidays, family events I wasn't invited to anyway. My mother called occasionally, asked how I was, told me my father refused to talk about me. Jonathan sent one text, "Still playing G.I. Jane?" I blocked his number. I threw myself into work, into training, into proving I belonged. I specialized in aerospace engineering,
got assigned to a base in Nevada working on satellite technology. I lived in a tiny apartment off base, drove a car that broke down twice a month, ate ramen more nights than I cared to admit, but I was happy. For the first time in my life, I was doing something that mattered to me, not because it looked good on paper, not because it impressed anyone, because it was mine. 3 years in, I deployed for the first time. 6 months in the Middle East. Hot, dusty, dangerous. I was part of a team managing communications for drone operations. High stakes, high pressure. One night, we intercepted intelligence about an imminent attack on a base housing 200 soldiers. We had 20 minutes to reroute assets and evacuate. I coordinated with 3 different units, relayed information faster than I'd ever moved in my life. We got everyone out. No casualties. I was awarded a commendation, and I called my mother to tell her. She cried, told me she was proud, asked if I'd spoken to my father. I hadn't. "He asks about you," she said quietly. "He won't admit it, but he does. I don't care. Elizabeth, Mom, I have to go." I hung up, because I did care, and that was the problem. Over the next decade, I rose through the ranks, captain, major, lieutenant colonel. I led teams, managed operations, got deployed 4 more times. I earned respect, medals, a reputation as someone who got things done. But I was also exhausted. The job demanded everything. My time, my energy, my relationships. I didn't date, didn't have close friends outside the military, didn't have a life that looked anything like what I'd imagined at 21. But I had purpose, and that was enough. When I was 32, I was promoted to colonel. I was the youngest woman in my division to reach that rank. My commanding officer, General Patricia Williams, called me into her office. "You've done exceptional work, Colonel Harper. I'm recommending you for a position at the Pentagon." I stared at her. "The Pentagon?" "Strategic operations. You'd be advising on satellite defense systems. It's a huge opportunity." "Thank you, ma'am." She smiled. "You've earned it." I moved to Washington, D.C., started working in rooms with people who made decisions that affected national security. It was surreal and terrifying, and exactly where I was supposed to be. 2 years later, I was promoted again, Brigadier General, 1 star. I was 34 years old. The ceremony was small, just my unit, a few colleagues. My mother called afterward. I'd sent her a photo. She cried, told me my father had seen it, that he didn't say anything, but he'd looked at it for a long time. I didn't respond, because I didn't need his approval anymore. 6 months after my promotion, I got a call from my hometown, the mayor's office, inviting me to speak at a Veterans Day ceremony. "We'd be honored to have you, General Harper. You're one of Greenwich's most distinguished service members." I almost said no, but something made me pause. Who else will be there? The city council, local veterans organizations, some prominent community members. Will the Harper family be invited? A pause. Your father is on the city council, so yes. I smiled. I'll be there. The ceremony was scheduled for November 11th. I flew in 2 days early, stayed at a hotel, didn't tell anyone I was coming. The night before the event, I drove past my childhood home. It looked the same. Massive, pristine, cold. I wondered if my father ever thought about me, if he regretted what he'd said, if he was proud, even secretly. I'd never know, because I'd stopped caring about his opinion the day I put on a uniform. The morning of the ceremony, I put on my dress blues. Full uniform, medals, ribbons, 1 silver star on my shoulder. I looked in the mirror, and I barely recognized the 22-year-old girl who'd walked out of her father's house with a duffel bag and a broken heart. That girl was gone. In her place was someone who'd earned every inch of respect she commanded. The ceremony was held at the town hall, a beautiful old building. Flags, banners, rows of seats filled with veterans, families, and local officials. I arrived 15 minutes early, waited in a side room. A staff member poked her head in. "General Harper, We're about to start. You'll be introduced after the mayor's opening remarks. Thank you. I stood, straightened my jacket, took a breath, and walked toward the main hall. I stood just outside the doors, could hear the mayor speaking. Grateful to the men and women who've served this country with honor and distinction. Today, we have a very special guest, a Greenwich native who has risen to one of the highest ranks in the United States Air Force. I felt my heart pounding, not from nerves, from anticipation. Please welcome Brigadier General Elizabeth Harper. The doors opened. I walked in, and the room erupted, not in applause, in movement. Every veteran in the room stood, saluted. City council members stood, families stood. I walked down the center aisle, returning salutes, nodding at familiar faces, and then I saw him, my father, sitting in the front row, frozen, staring. I looked directly at him, and I saw something I'd never seen before. Shock. I reached the podium. The mayor shook my hand, gestured for me to speak. I looked out at the crowd, at the veterans who'd served, at the families who'd sacrificed, at the community that had once written me off as a disappointment, and I spoke. Thank you for this honor. Greenwich will always be home to me, not because of the houses or the schools or the country clubs, but because this is where I learned that true strength doesn't come from wealth or status. It comes from service, from sacrifice, from choosing something bigger than yourself. I paused. 12 years ago, I left this town to join the Air Force. I was told I was making a mistake, that a military paycheck wouldn't even cover rent, that I'd come crawling back. I looked at my father. I didn't come back. I moved forward. I rose through the ranks. I led teams. I protected this country, and I earned every star on this uniform. The room was silent. I'm not here to prove anything to anyone. I'm here because I'm proud of where I came from, and I'm proud of where I went. I stepped back. The room exploded in applause, and my father sat there, still staring. After the ceremony, people swarmed me, thanking me, congratulating me, asking for photos. I smiled, shook hands, played the role, and then I saw him, my father, standing at the edge of the room, alone. He walked toward me. Elizabeth. I turned. Mr. Harper? He flinched. I didn't know. Didn't know what? That you'd become this. A general? Someone extraordinary. I looked at him. Really looked. He'd aged. Gray hair, lines around his eyes. He looked smaller than I remembered. I'm the same person I was when I left. No, you're not. You're right. I'm better. He looked down. I was wrong. About everything. I'm sorry. I waited. I thought success looked like money, like status, like following the path I'd laid out. It doesn't. I know that now. I nodded. Good. He reached out, like he wanted to hug me. I stepped back. Elizabeth, I forgive you, but I don't need your approval. I never did. I walked away. The next day, I got a call from the mayor. General Harper, there's something you should know. Your father made a significant donation to the Veterans Memorial Fund, in your name. I was quiet. He's also stepping down from the city council, says he wants to spend more time with family. Good for him. He's asking if you'll have dinner with him before you leave. I thought about it. About the 22-year-old girl who'd walked out of his house. About the woman I'd become. Tell him I'll think about it. I didn't have dinner with him, but I did call him the night before I flew back to D.C. Dad? Elizabeth, thank you for calling. I'm leaving tomorrow. I know. I don't know when I'll be back. I understand. Silence. I'm proud of you, he said finally. I should have said that 12 years ago, but I'm saying it now. Thank you. Do you think we can start over? I thought about it. About forgiveness, about letting go. I don't know, but maybe. That's more than I deserve. Yes, it is. He laughed. Sad. Broken. I love you, Elizabeth. I closed my eyes. I know. I hung up. I'm 34 years old. I'm a brigadier general in the United States Air Force. I've led teams in combat zones, advised on national security, earned the respect of people who matter, and I did it all without my father's money, or approval, or support. I did it because I believed in something bigger than myself. My father thought success was measured in dollars, but I learned something he never understood. True power isn't money. It's character. It's choosing the hard path because it's the right one. It's standing in a room full of people who once doubted you and proving them wrong with quiet dignity. My father said my army paycheck wouldn't even cover rent. He was right about one thing. I didn't come crawling back. I came back a general. And that made all the difference.